What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The David Lopez Show, presented by Passion Park ENT. You know what it is. Did a little separate cadence or different cadence on the bye there for the Passion Park ENT. But anyways, welcome back to another episode. I hope you all are doing well. Hope you all are having a good time at home or wherever you got to be. If you got to be working, thank you for being an essential worker. We appreciate you during this time. But yeah, I'm back with another episode. It's just gonna be some sports stuff today. A couple other things I want to chat about. Thank you to everybody who's been tuning in over the past couple weeks. Honestly, I've been putting out like 3 to 5 videos / podcast episodes per week for the past couple weeks. So really been ramping up the content, and that's definitely not slowing up. Next week's gonna be a big week for me. And we'll get into that right away. So if you go to www.thedavidlopez.com, that's where you can find all my music, merch, show dates, videos, all of that stuff. And like I said, we're ramping that up next week. Next week's going to be a big music week for me. So stay tuned. I'm really excited to drop some of the stuff that I'm going to be dropping, and there'll be announcements coming ASAP with all that. So if you go to www.thedavidlopez.com, you can find that. And then also if you just follow me on Instagram and all that stuff. Honestly, Insta story is where I post the most. Last night, this is a good transition because we started a new show called Happy Hour Live. So like twice a week I'm going live, just making a cocktail and just like hanging out for like 20 minutes, half hour. Excuse me. And last night I made a Manhattan in our episode. That was really fun. I'm editing it right now, so it'll be up pretty soon. But I said in the middle of the episode, I'm like, wow, this Manhattan's good. I might get a little buzz, a little drunk. And I definitely got a buzz going. But if you follow me on Instagram on my story, you can tell because I just went crazy on the story posting. I was posting all these old songs and stuff like that. So it was actually a really fun episode because what I did was I just listened to these old, like randomly I had gone back and listened to some old shit of mine, like this old mixtape from 2013 that I did. Actually, I listened to these 2 mixtapes I did from 2013. One had 20 songs, one had 17 songs. Like I've always just made a lot of stuff, so I'm proud of that. Not that they're great because they're really not. But there's some gems in there. That's what I was talking about yesterday on the episodes. There's some gems in the middle of that. So I like going back and listening to some old stuff and just being like, oh, it's like cringeworthy because you're not as good as you should be. But then there's also some gems in there, and it reminds me like I've been doing this shit, I've been trying to get better and stuff. So that was really cool. I had fun doing that. And I might bring back some oldies and do some variations with that. I'm excited to try some stuff out. I got to hear some of these beats that I had from back in the day that I was like, God damn, I forgot about these. So yeah, I mean, it's hard as an artist because you're trying to always move forward. But you forget about some old stuff sometimes. Actually, I have a couple things I'm going to say about that once we get into it. I'm going to finish these announcements. Sorry, just went for a little rant there. But also, if you want to find more of our stuff, go to www.passionparkent.com. That's where I post a lot of our events. That's where you can buy merch directly from. We got other like sponsors on there. Any of those banners that you click and use, you're directly supporting us. We get a little cutback from that. So any of those, greatly appreciated. I'm trying to figure out a way. I've been saying this, but I'm trying to figure out a way to do our showcase remotely and bring it back a little bit. So I'm going to try to get on that. And yeah, that's something that I really want to do. And I want to figure out a good way to put it out, whether it be on IGTV, IG Live, via Zoom. I know some people are doing Zoom. I know some comedians who are doing their like open mics via Zoom, which is strange, but charge like 10 for the ticket to get into the Zoom or 5 or whatever. They get a little support from that because, we need it during this time. And I mean, I heard from some people that I know that it actually went pretty well. I mean, it's weird to do comedy with no like physical crowd, but if you have people joining remotely and you still hear the laughs, I think that could work. I'm sure it's funny like timing wise, but I think it could work. So that's dope. So I got to figure out ways to do this. Got to talk with my friends and try to figure this out. Me and Joe Bianco, who's been on the show a lot, we tried to do via FaceTime a performance where like, he played the guitar and I just rapped to it. It worked via FaceTime. I'm a little concerned doing it, via IG Live or via Zoom, honestly, because there's just delay and the audio is weird. But FaceTime, straight up, it just worked. But you can't screen record it on FaceTime and get the audio because the audio, because it just doesn't work. You're recording the audio from the screen as you're doing it. So it's a whole clusterfuck. So that's a problem. But anyways, stay tuned with that. I mentioned my Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/thedavidlopez, that's where I'm going to I'm just got that page started, trying to release some stuff. I only have one patron right now, but I want to say thank you to that one patron. But to anybody who's interested in finding ways to support me, that is a great way to support me, and it would mean the world to me. And to anybody who signs up for my Patreon, to anybody who signs up to any tiers of my Patreon, at least for the foreseeable future as I'm starting this, I'm going to send you merch right away. I'm just going to send you a complimentary merch pack. I'll probably ask you what shirt size you wear and shit, but I'll send you a complimentary merch pack no matter what to all of my patrons. So that's just a way of saying thank you. It's also a way of just paying it forward and just saying we're going to, join this ride with me and let's keep it going. You know what I'm saying? And then I started a group for the podcast on Facebook. For anybody who still uses Facebook, go to facebook.com/groups/The David Lopez Show. I'll be posting like when I go live in there and whatnot. Originally I was posting that because I was using Facebook Live, but lately I've been using IG Live just because the interface is a little bit better for comments and if people want to hop in, if we want to do interviews or anything like that. So that works. And then finally, next week, I've been talking about this show all month, but next week, my friend's TikTok show, it's called The World Premiere, at The World Premiere, at the WP as well. WP is short for The World Premiere. You get it, guys? But anyways, they have this awesome show where they interview artists and they also, and then the artist performs. It's like a minute-long show, really easy to watch, and there's been super talented artists on all month. My episode is next week, so April 23rd, that's Thursday. So stay tuned, check that out. I got an awesome song that I performed during that. I had a lot of fun doing that. And then, that just coincides with a lot of the other music and stuff that I'm going to be doing next week. So a lot of things that are going to be happening next week. So stay tuned with all that. So shout out to those guys at the World Premiere and Mark over at TikTok or on his show at TikTok. I have a friend who works at TikTok, so shout out to them for that too. But anyways, let's get into the show.
David Lopez is the name. It's my show. Welcome to it.
All right. Here we go. So today I'm gonna do I want to talk a little sports stuff. I'm gonna do, if you guys noticed a couple weeks ago, I did this song breakdown for one of my first singles ever, Champ, and I'm actually gonna stick with that. I'm gonna do a little song breakdown at the end, or should I just do that right away? I don't know. Let me figure this out. The main thing I want to talk about sports wise though is well, I don't want to harp too much on The Last Dance that's coming this Sunday because I've pretty much been talking about that every episode. But this morning, Michael Jordan was on Good Morning America, so I got to hear him interviewed by Robin Roberts, and it just brings back some shit. And he had some gems in there, like some real old man wisdom that I like to hear. So I'm super excited for that. And it just reminded me of some shit. Like Mike was just telling this story about how he was 90% healthy, and they were like, there's a 10% chance you could really mess up your career if you play. This was early on in his career. And Jerry Reinsdorf was like, his analogy was, this is just great. I'm just doing this real quick story. I'm sure you guys will probably see this, but his analogy was, because Mike wanted to play, and Jerry Reinsdorf's analogy was, if you had 10 pills, right, and you had a terrible headache, you had 10 Advils, and 9 of them would heal you, but 1 of them could kill you, would you take any of the pills? And Mike's response was, depends how bad the fucking headache was. And I just think that's a great little anecdote for his competitive drive and how he was with all these things. He also said that he's not concerned, but he thinks that some people are gonna think that he's an asshole and view him differently after this documentary. I mean, shit, what do you expect? He was the biggest competitor ever. His dad taught him, or not taught him, but his dad knew him and said, if you want to get Mike to be the best version, you got to tell him he can't do it, and then he'll be the best. He will do the best that he can, because that's just how he is. He's like, tell me I can't, I'm gonna do it. So that's super. I don't know. It's fucking exciting, man. I'm pumped to watch that this weekend. But yeah, and then also sports wise, I want to get into this baseball situation because honestly, I got some questions. So because they're proposing that we could possibly start the baseball season, right? And I think that's. So Dr. Fauci yesterday talked about in general how sports could start if we did start sports back up. And it's basically what I've been thinking, and what I think most people have been thinking is we have to be no fans, right? You can't have fans in attendance if you're going to do it. It's got to be super remote. You got to keep these people in as like one, not necessarily one location, but you got to minimize the locations and the traveling as much as you possibly can to mitigate, the potential for spreads in other locations or just in more locations or any of that stuff, right? So Dr. Fauci said that he thinks sports could come back if we mitigate that and have no fans and all that jazz. So that's good to hear. I think as a sports fan, it was a nice thing to hear. It's like, okay, so there's a potential here. Now baseball's probably the best setup for this to actually happen, oddly enough, because they have these spring training locations already. So they're talking about just running it from Florida and Arizona. I actually heard one proposition that would be just Arizona, so we don't even use the Florida spring training, and you just have everybody in Arizona. They already have their own ballparks. They already have their own league set up, so it would be different divisions. This is the weird thing. I think they're talking about, like, it would still be the World Series or whatever, but, like, the divisions would be switched up because the Cactus League and, like, they have two different leagues in spring training. They're different from the American League and the National League. It's whatever. Like, the Cubs are in the same division as, like, I don't know who they're. I was trying to figure this out, but they're in divisions that are much different than what they have normally aligned. So I don't know how they would do this, how they would do any of this playoff stuff. I'm kind of interested by it. What's up to everybody who's on the live? Appreciate you guys. What's up, Asthmatic? If we were talking about possibly doing an interview. If you want to hop on right now, we can. If you want to do it later, we could do it. Yeah, that is a hilarious point. Baseball as a sport is naturally already socially distanced because everyone stays at their position. That's the one sport that's already set up for it too, because everybody is just far apart from each other. That's a great fucking point. That's what I didn't even think about. The real thing that is an issue here is that would these baseball players be comfortable with being away from their family? Because, like, it depends if they're going to allow them to stay in a hotel and have their families come and stay with them and stuff. Because otherwise, I heard some baseball players already talk like, you mean I got to be away from my family for like 3-4 months, can't even go back because you have to be quarantined, you just can't even risk it? Because then if one player gets it during the spring training session, they go home and give it to their family and spread it out, like, what, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's an exponential growth then, and then they'll probably have to cancel the whole fucking thing if that happens. So it's interesting, but I think it's gonna if I had to take a guess right now, I think there's gonna be baseball played. I think that the spring training thing is the way that it's gonna happen. I don't think there's gonna be any fans all year. So I'm curious. If anybody wants to weigh in on what they think about that, you can, comment below like my man Matt just did, or if you want to hop in on the live, like I had been saying before, this is the only way I can really take callers now because I'm not giving out my phone number, at least not to the general public. So you can always hop in on the lives and I'll take your comments and stuff like that. But yeah, so what I want answers from anybody who knows this, because I haven't heard this yet. What would the division breakdown be for this? Like, who would be in the Cubs division, and would they call it the World Series? Like, I don't have the answers to this. I suppose I should have some answers as I'm running the show, but I need answers, people. I need answers. So if somebody's got some solutions to that, or somebody can help me out, that would be very, very helpful. Because then we can go ahead and do what I did with baseball, which was, with basketball, which was the, hypothetical situation with the playoffs. They come back, and then I run the whole bracket, and we see who wins. And I got to be honest, I am somewhat optimistic right now that the potential NBA playoff bracket that I did already, for those who don't know, I did a whole bracket for if the NBA playoffs start right now with the way the season ended, and if they just start right as they come back, and where the seeds would be and all that stuff, what would the situation be? What would my predictions be? So I did that. And I actually am optimistic that it might happen that way. I really think that they're trying to figure it out. I'm curious if they're going to use the full arenas. I mean, if you have a 30,000 person arena and no fans are joining, why necessarily use that big of a place and not just find like another gym that has a really nice court to play in with no fans? So I'm curious about that. But I think there's a chance that the NBA will get going. Their deadlines, I heard they were trying to get done by Labor Day. I don't know if that's going to be a real thing or not. But I know that was the thing. And then baseball-wise, I heard that since they're going to do Arizona and Florida, if they push to November, I think they can do the World Series in November and still get the next season rolling pretty similarly time frame-wise to what they were hoping for. So the thing about all these sports starting is whether or not they're going to affect the following year. Shout out to Frankie. What's up, Frankie? He's still in bed. So that's all right. Good morning to you, man. I like that I'm trying to do these morning episodes now to wake people up with me. But yes, I mean it's interesting. Let's see. I got another comment here. Yeah. See. Yeah. Matt said LeBron is going to make it happen. He can't risk missing a chance at his legacy. Now. I mean, LeBron obviously has a strong voice in the NBA Players Association and just in the league in general. I don't know if he can willfully himself make this happen. He's also been pretty a pretty big proponent of the social distancing thing. And well, I mean, what kind of an asshole would you look if you were the one player who was like, fuck that, let's have a party at my house? So obviously he's been a proponent of it. But I think you're right in the sense that like LeBron is the most aware of his legacy and of the storylines that surround him. And he's like, and of the narrative, he's like so just like keenly aware of it. I mean, it oddly seems like he cares too much about it. I think a lot of people would say that. He always knows when the lights are on. There is no doubt that LeBron is aware. Like LeBron is one of the greatest basketball players of all time. I have no doubt on that. But he is an entertainer. Like that goes hand in hand. Like he is definitely an entertainer. Like he knows that. That's why he's gonna have a movie career and all this career after. Like, yeah, he's only got so many years left in those knees. You're right, but man, we keep saying that every year, and then he like, I mean, look, you're absolutely correct because he has these great seasons, and you're like, wow, he's still amazing. Like, but with all this time off in the quarantine, they were showing those old Heat Spurs series from 13 or 14 or whenever, both those, and you can tell a extreme difference in his explosiveness. So I agree with you. His knees, I mean, they're on the way out. They're on the way out slowly, and he's still super athletic. But when you watch him early, you're like, oh, you're just kind of reminded, like, oh yeah, that's right. Like that's how good he was. That's how freakishly athletic he was in his prime. But to think he's still got that much in the tank left, and he's where he's at. He's been in the league for, it feels like 20 years. It's crazy. And then my man Frankie just asked, who's the next LeBron? That's a good question because, I mean, there's a lot of good young guys in the league, but on the high school level, what just happened yesterday, which I read, which was really interesting, there's a sophomore. I didn't know this. I don't know enough about high school basketball now. I see some of these processes. There's a sophomore who won the Gatorade National Player of the Year yesterday. That's amazing. He's the first sophomore ever to do that. I mean, LeBron won the Gatorade National Player of the Year. Jason Tatum did. Like a lot of these guys have won that award. Nobody has a sophomore. This dude is like a 6'9" guard he has a handle on the rock and can shoot the ball. I got to watch his highlights, and honestly. So I had heard a lot of people say they're comparing him to the next LeBron for several reasons. First off, I think his game, his long reach. Also, he's probably going to be able to go straight to the NBA because he's got 2 years left in high school, and it's really looking like that high school rule is going to change. So he would be able to go straight from high school to the NBA and then have that direct impact. So he might be the first, and he's going to, I mean, winning the Gatorade National Player of the Year your sophomore year, he's going to have, the press on him for the next couple of years. So he'll have all of that, basically, which happened to LeBron. LeBron was in Sports Illustrated when he was 16 years old or whatever. It's crazy. All right. Yeah, Matt, great point. We didn't appreciate the LeBron phenomenon when it was happening. I mean, I felt like I did. I've always really liked LeBron, but you're right. It's hard to appreciate anybody's greatness when it's happening. Yeah, seriously, when you watch LeBron's like highlight reel, you're just like, what the fuck? This dude is a human being. He looks like a species that was made in a laboratory. It's like he's there. So, but I think this guy, this high school kid is the next potential to be one of those kind of big stars I'm hearing. But in the league right now, I've been praising Jason. The high school kid. Oh, that's what you're saying. You're saying I should do a reaction video of watching his highlights. Yeah, you're totally right. I should, because I need to see this guy's videos. Actually, fuck it. I'm just going to put his highlights on right now. You're right. You are totally right. Let's see here. But yeah, no, Emoni Bates. This is what I'm talking about. All right, I feel better now because I had felt bad not knowing this kid's names. All right, now I'm going to find some videos. We're going to watch this kid's highlights. If you guys are interested, do the same. Let me make sure I mute my computer. All right, let's see. This dude is 6'9", lengthy. Jesus Christ. Goes for 63 points and 21 rebounds. It says he's the best 16-year-old in the world. Holy shit. See, I want to say something. When you are in even a shitty YMCA game and you're playing against bad people, I've said this to a bunch of people. If you score 40 points, if you score 50 points, if you do that, yo, that shit is hard. Like, I don't care who you're playing against. Like, you got to consistently put the bucket, you get buckets. I mean, look, if you're doing layups every play, whatever, we're talking differently when you're 7 feet and you're playing against dudes who are 6'5" or whatever. Like I get it, but man, like, I don't care. You 63 points in a 40-minute ball game, especially when that clock is running, it doesn't stop as often. Like, man, you gotta be extreme. Yeah, that's a high school version of Wilt Chamberlain. When you look at Wilt Chamberlain statistics, this shit is fucking mind blowing. I was watching this old Shaq game from his rookie season. They were playing the Bulls, and Shaq averaged, man, I'm gonna get this wrong, but he was averaging like 24 and 15 or something. He has some crazy numbers, right? And they show these big men who have had awesome numbers in their rookie years. And Wilt averaged like 37 and 24 or some shit like that in his rookie fucking year. Oh man! All right, so I got this Emoni Bates video coming up. They're showing all their, like they come out for the starting lineups. It's like an NBA game. These high school kids coming out for the starting lineups. But yeah. So this dude is huge, man. He is like, he kind of has a Kevin Durant type body, like super lengthy, super long. This video has him versus Scooby Johnson, who is another baller, but I guess this dude's from Michigan, so they're both these guys right here are from Michigan. But I need to find like his god damn, dude. Yeah, he's gonna have to put some weight on though. I mean, that's what they said about Kevin Durant though. They said that about Kevin Durant, and what was the thing on Kevin Durant when he was coming out for the NBA draft? It was like he couldn't rep 185 15 times or maybe I don't know how many times. Like he couldn't do his body weight. Like there was something that people were like, Kevin Durant's so weak, he can't bench this, he can't do that. And it's like, yeah, but you can't stop a ball. Like there's certain people where I don't give a fuck if they're strong enough or whatever you think. They just ball. They're just ballers. They just get buckets. That's what they fucking do. So yeah, man. So shout out to Emoni Bates. Let's go. Let's say it right here. Right here. Emoni Bates, number 1 pick in 2022 draft, right? Fuck it, let's predict it. I don't think that's that crazy of a prediction. Now here's what be the crazy things. What team? Emoni Bates, 2022, number 1 overall pick to the Bull. I don't know. Yeah, basketball isn't that heavy. No fucking kidding. This is what I'm saying. I don't understand. Some of the things that they do in the combine are not necessary for basketball players. Like, and I've said this my whole life, man. Some of the shit that coaches train young kids with are not basketball specific. And it never, like, I remember in college, once we finally got a trainer that knew like the essence of what skills you needed for basketball. You need the quick twitch muscles. You need that kind of shit. There's no fucking point in running a long distance, running a mile, like or doing like just like a slow paced mile jog for basketball. That doesn't do anything. Same way getting jacked can help you, but can also really hurt. It's hurt people's jump shots. They get too strong. They don't know how to shoot anymore. They lose some of that fluidity in their game. So I think all that shit matters. So I mean, yeah. Shout out to our one of our AAU coach, my AAU coach. A couple of my friends are we've all known him, and he was very, very real on basketball specific training my whole life, and that's absolutely true. So shout out to Chuck Demas, nothing but net MBN. Shout out, you know what it is. But for real, that's my note on that. We need some goddamn sports back, guys. I think we're all missing this. We're all going crazy. Let's get some sports back, man. What the shit? Oh man. All right. Well, Emoni Bates, number 1 pick in the 2022. So I'm all about that. I am gonna talk about a little music here. I don't know what you guys feel. Like I said, I'm gonna drop some new music next week. I don't want to announce that though. I don't want to announce those dates or anything like that. My man Matt's who's tuned in actually. You dropped an awesome song yesterday, so I want to say shout out to you because I really liked it. I mean, I've always liked your flow, but the '90s vibe to it and shit is fun. So I really like that. I like seeing all the like a lot of my friends as artists and just like other people are just getting content out, releasing content right now. I mean, now's really the time, man. Like, I'm not saying you have to release stuff, but if you're sitting on some stuff that you like figure out a way, try to find a creative way to get it out or just get it out. Like, even if it doesn't blow up like you think in your head it's going to blow up or whatever, it might be good for you during this time to try some shit like that. People have all this downtime. There's no point in sitting on all this work. Like, so I just tell people, I mean, whatever. I'm not trying to give advice to everybody. this is my philosophy as an artist is to keep creating. And actually, this harps back to what I was saying earlier. Like, my philosophy as an artist is to keep creating. But that being said, that is not the most savvy marketing way. That's not what somebody else would like. like what I meant to say earlier about, listening to some of my old music. Like I was listening to these 2 mixtapes I made in 2013, and there are some original tracks on there, and there are some gems in there where I'm like, oh, there's a couple bars I could use on something now, or maybe I could remaster this verse or remaster this hook or take this beat and do something with it. And like, there's a value to going back and looking at that stuff. But for me, it's always been just like push forward. I have to create the next thing. But that has, I think, negatively impacted my career in a little aspect, because it's like, you got to remember to push a product that like you believed in. Like for instance, right now I have a song, Shoot is out. That's my most recent single. And I'm trying to, make a video for it. I'm trying to do some things and get it out and promo it, because I got to remember that when I made that song, and I still feel this way, but when I made that song, I loved it. I'm like, oh, this is the shit. Like I'm super proud of it. And then like you put it out to the world, it doesn't get that immediate response that you're like, oh, you were expecting people to love it right away. It doesn't get that. And then you just move on to the next thing. Or I have just moved on to the next thing. And it's been kind of healthier for me mentally as like creative, like just to keep moving on. But like those songs they're not gonna go where they need to go if I don't show that I believe in them, and if I don't like put the work into putting them out there and consistently do it. Like Shoot say it has 1,500 streams on Spotify or whatever. 1,500 streams is nothing. It really isn't that big of a deal anyways. But I mean, those people heard it, and I appreciate every single person who heard it. But my point is, to everybody else who hasn't heard it, that's a brand new song. It's a brand new record to everybody who hasn't heard it. And I have to always remember that. I mean, I say the story all the time. Fetty Wap pushed Trap Queen for a fucking year. What's his name? Lil Nas X, Old Town Road. He pushed that song for, I think, over a year. Like, they pushed these songs for a long time, and the similarities in that is that they believed in the records, and they really just never stopped. So if you think you got one, I guess that's what I'm saying. If you think you got one, you think you got a hit, just believe in it yourself and just keep putting it out there. I'm trying to get myself to do that shit, and to just like not forget, like, hey, when I made this shit, I thought this was the biggest fucking hit, or just like the best song that I made, and I was so proud of it. So I gotta keep, you know what I mean? Like, I gotta remember that. I gotta remind myself that, like, you don't just give up on a song because it didn't blow up overnight, or because it didn't blow up in a week, or because it didn't blow up in a month. That's just not how it should work. But yeah, there was a little rant on that. That's me reminding myself. I just pulled up these old sessions. I'm actually super salty. Another tip would be, don't delete your old sessions, even if you're losing memory on your computer. Now I have all this extra storage. I have hard drives. I have like so much space, so I can just back up everything, which is, I'm super thankful for. But back in the day, I wasn't as savvy with that stuff. I didn't know about all that stuff. So I deleted some sessions, like especially from these 2013, 2012 mixtapes and shit. I deleted some of those fucking sessions. So I'm not so concerned with needing to redo my verses or whatever. I can just re-record it. I can just rewrite a new verse, which is probably what I'm gonna do. But some of the vocals, I had some features, or I had some effects on some vocals, just some things that I wanted to keep, and I don't have those anymore. So try to remember those. I was looking on these old hard drives, like, where are these sessions? And I just can't find them. So I'm recreating some of this stuff. But stay tuned. 420. I might drop an oldie but goodie for all my stoner friends. I also want to do a late night happy hour on 420. Maybe just, smoke it up with a couple of my friends. All right. Well, that was a good little music rant. And as I said in the beginning of the show, I'm going to do a little song breakdown here. I want to do a quick one. So I did Champ the first time I did a song breakdown, because that was my first ever real single. And I'm going to follow that up with my second ever real single. I'm going to play it loud. So I'm going to play it on the soundboard. And for anybody who's listening to the podcast later, you'll get to hear it on the soundboard. Unfortunately, if you're listening to live, you don't hear the soundboard. So I'm just going to play it out loud on my computer, so you guys on the live can hear it. This was still probably one of my biggest singles. Is my biggest music video to date. I love the music video. We shot it in LA. Shout out to my guy Frankie, who's on the live. He was out there with me every time we go out to LA. But this is my like I said, one of my biggest singles. The video has like 50K views. I just want to break down a little bit how you guessed it right, my friend, Lonely Days. I just want to break down a little bit just how that song came to be. So I'm gonna play a little real quick, and we're just gonna talk about it. I was in it for the long run. Fell in love with the wrong one. Yeah, seen it all before. Hit yourself and be the cook, cause now I'm dealing with a lonely day. I was in it for the long run. Fell in love with the wrong one. Yeah, seen it all before. Hit yourself I've been thinking about it all day, and now it's messing me up. I've been thinking about it all day, and it's messing me up. I was in it for the long run, and it's messing me up. Fell in love with the wrong one. It's messing me up.
You laying in my bed, I'm laying down a song. These memories in my head on replay mode like ESPN. I know you remember when we left the TV on and woke up to top 10, just your Vicky Secrets on. That was my...
All right. So I just wanted to play a little bit real quick up top because it just brings back a lot of memories to me. So this song I got, so Drumlord, shout out to Drumlord. He's a guy I've done a lot of work with. If you know Call Me, which is one of my recent singles, he's on there. He's a super talented fucking producer. Has some of his own music that he's released, but mostly he's a producer. He'll do features and he creates. He's just a creator. He's like, there's a lot of people like this in the industry. You learn once you get into it. Like when I made Preacher Son and I went out and I made For You, like I had learned this whole, I didn't even know that there was a process of people that are in rooms that make beats and have songwriters and they just make choruses and then they just flip out the products and get it to artists like me. I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know that was part of the process. So this is my first experience with any sort of industry thing. Now, I am clearly an independent artist. I have no industry backing. Nobody even knows who the fuck I am. I'm not trying to pity myself. I'm just saying in general, I'm an independent artist like that, right? And so this is my first really semblance of industry knowledge or experience at all. I had been reached out by the manager of Drumlord, right? So this dude Ian reached out to me via message and was like, he wanted to talk to me because I had released a bunch of music, and he was like, I got some songs I could send you over and we could see what we think and stuff like that, and go through whether or not we think it's a hit, think it's worth moving forward with. We can you can afford it, all those kind of things. You got to remember these guys are trying to sell you stuff too. But that being said, like, people are trying to sell you beats, but you got to remember, people are trying to sell you beats, but they also generally, especially a producer who really cares about his music, they want the product to be successful as well. So like I'm not, if I'm a dude who's making sick beats, I'm not trying to just give that shit to the wackest artist and then now I have this product that comes out that I don't support. I'm not behind it. Now I think that shit happens all the time because I think there's plenty of producers that are trying to make a quick buck. I actually want to ask to any of my producer friends out here. I was gonna ask this. I was gonna ask this on Twitter, but I'll just ask it right here, and I mean this. For anybody who produces themselves and also is an engineer, what is your stance on or how often does this happen to you? You send a beat to somebody, they make a song or whatever, and then they send their version back, right? They made the song on. I feel like this shit happens all the time because I've done this to people, right? So they make their version, they send it back, and then the producer almost immediately, because they're an engineer and a hustler and they're trying to make money, so I'm not hating on that. They'll respond with, yo, I can take this to the next level if I mix and master it. Yo, let me mix and master it, I can take this to the next level. Woo, all that. That's fine. Then that's cool. I've always get your hustle on. I'm with that. My question is, how many times does it happen? If you're an engineer and you think you're good, how many times does it happen where you receive a product back from the artist and you're like, oh shit, the mix is good, I don't need to fuck with it. Oh shit, the master is good, I don't need to fuck with it. Because I'm having a tough time knowing if people are trying to literally, help make the music sound better in their ears, or if they're just trying to hustle me. Because I think, and that's something that, I've been dealing with this whole time in this industry, is not trying to get hustled. It feels like that shit happens all the time. But yeah, because first off, when you're mixing and mastering your own shit, just remember this, if I can give out one tidbit, I'm not an engineer. I mean, I'm an engineer for my own shit, and I've been putting out my own music and doing all that, and I mix and master and produce a lot of my stuff. The one thing I'll say is, remember, trust your ears. That's a lesson that I had to learn, because your ears are what got you to this point, whatever that may be. But your ears and your sound is what got you to that point. It's also what you're gonna have to go with for the rest of your career. So, because you got to be comfortable with the song that you release. You got to be comfortable with hearing it out loud and being like, I like the way my voice sounds there. I like the way that shit sounds there. Now, that being said, there are also just actual things that matter to the sound, that shit is clipping, or that shit is way too loud, whatever. There's shit that actually matters. But trust your ears. That's what I'll say. And I just want to know if there are producers out there who actually, when they get it back, they don't just immediately go, let me mix it. They're like, oh, that shit sounds good, it's right. I just feel like I've been getting hustled by people. And I kind of trust my mixes and masters. I like mine to a certain extent. And I just feel like people always hit me back let me mix it, let me master it. I'm like, and then I had to think to myself a while back, are my mixes and masters that bad? And then you just listen to your shit compared to other people's shit, and you're like, nah, man, it's it's a process. Everybody's hustling. Everybody's trying to make their money. All right, so back to the Lonely Days thing. So Ian, the manager of Drumlord, had reached out to me with this song. And then this is the one we agreed on. He had sent me some other stuff. This is the one that I was like, nah, this is the kind of song I want to make. It's not so necessarily that I wanted to make a breakup song, because this is a breakup song, but I wanted to, I was always focused on doing music that had some emotional value to it, or an emotional weight to it, and we could talk about a real life situation and somebody could relate to it. I mean, I knew as soon as I started rapping that I don't have, I just knew that was the kind of music I wanted to make, that I wanted to make music that had value in that sense and wasn't necessarily flexing type music. And the other kind of rap frankly, I just don't fit it. It just doesn't line up with me. You got to know who you are or whatever. And I knew right away that that's kind of music I wanted to make. So I chose this. We go with it, right? Now, this is the most interesting part about it. I'm a young kid. I'm confident, more confident than I should have been, more delusional, more cocky than I should have been, frankly, but I wouldn't be here if I wasn't that. If I wasn't delusional when I started, if some of that delusion wasn't still here now, I wouldn't be where I am. So that matters. Anyways, though, so I'm thinking my verses are good. All my shit's good. I kid you not, I sent back and forth. We went back and forth with probably 10 different verses. If you know the song, there's 2 full verses from me, a little bridge and stuff like that. I probably wrote 10 different verses, sent it to him. He goes, we got to change it back. Sent it to him, got to change it back. Got to change it back. Woo. If you watch that video, or if you listen to the song, it's one of the only songs you'll hear from me where I say, maybe not only songs, but I say a lot of brand names. I say like Hennessy, I say Facebook, I say all these things. No lie, that manager, he told me, he's like, we got to get some brand names in here. We got to talk about brand names. We got to get some, I don't know why he thought we were going to get some sort of big ad from Hennessy or some shit in the video, but he told me to do all that stuff. And that was my first taste of the industry, being like it felt grimy. It felt dirty to me. Like, I'm writing about a breakup that mattered to me, and he's telling me, yo, add a brand name in there. Like, add all that shit in there. And it felt dirty to me about the industry. Like, it felt like, oh, this is what all this shit's about. It's about money and stuff. But frankly, I think it helped me a lot with details and writing details and including some of those things, because it reminded me how important some of those things are. Just including details in your writing is big time. It's important stuff. So then we finally got that song done, and this is another case of needing to believe in the records that you put out, because we put it out right before I should have put it out. I put it out too early. I was antsy. I was trying to get it out. But then we revisited it and we were like, we got to remix this, remaster it, record it again, and then shoot the video. So we did exactly that. I actually re-recorded this. I recorded the song at 3 different. I recorded it at the home at my apartment at the time, and then I recorded it at the studio in Chicago, and then I re-recorded it in LA at this studio. Shout out to Clayton William, who I recorded a lot of Preacher Son with. Recorded it 3 different times and went back to the video. That's how much we believed in that song, and everybody that I was sending it to believed in it, and really, honestly, on the strength of that hook. So shout out to Drumlord, because I mean, like I said, I was nothing but matching me up and doing that. I think we've made a lot of good music since then. So it was a cool organic experience. I don't know. I hope you guys got something from that. It was kind of cool for me to revisit that, because I had to remember some of those things and how that came together, and just going through that process and dealing with that manager and hearing some of the things about the industry. And then I learned a little bit more about the industry when I took a meeting in LA. Actually, when I went out to record this project, my guy Mark introduced me to some people, and I took a meeting and got to talk to some people, and they got to see some clips from the video and all that stuff. And that was like my first experience with what it's a semblance of what the industry is kind of like out in LA. I don't think I really got the full feel for it, but I got some of it, and I'm grateful for those experiences, and I'm, just trying to keep it going. But it's funny enough, I learned some of the industry then. It's just constantly changing though. So there is nothing to hold on to really there that, is exactly the same. It's constantly changing. But yeah, so that was the bulk of today's episode. That was it. That was the episode. That was fun. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm going to pop this outro music on. Yeah, I appreciate you guys tuning in to another episode of the David Lopez Show. Everybody on IG Live, thank you. Everybody who commented and joined in on the conversation, appreciate you. Another happy hour episode tomorrow night, or tomorrow at 5 o'clock, Friday at 5 o'clock. I don't know what kind of cocktail I'm going to make yet, but it'll be something good. So join me for that. And I think there's going to be another podcast episode that I'm going to do as well. I have a phone call interview, hopefully I'm going to do with a friend here. So I'll either be getting that out today, tomorrow, or maybe next week. I don't know, guys. Just stay tuned. Follow us, youtube.com/David Lopez Passion Park. And then on everything else, at Passion Park ENT, at the David Lopez, the _ David Lopez, should I say. All that jazz. One love, guys. Have fun. Stay quarantined. Stay the fuck in the house.